As bodybuilders, we have to do a lot more than just work hard in the gym. Part of that includes the amount of time we have to spend in the kitchen. Meal prep can be an absolutely daunting task, and so I'm going to give you guys just a few tips to break it down, especially if you're a beginner and you're just starting meal prep, to make it just a little more manageable and not so overwhelming. So let's get started. The most important thing when it comes to meal prep to get started is mindset. Again, mindset. If you look for obstacles and you think about how tough this is and how time consuming it is, it's going to be tough and it's going to be time consuming. So what I want you to remember is that it's not always going to take you as long as it takes you in the beginning. When you first start meal prepping, it might feel like you're spending all day meal prepping, and you might be. But I promise you, I promise, if you stick with it, it's going to get easier and easier, and it's going to take less time. So I want to give you 3 mindset tricks to really be able to nail your meal prep. The first is always be in the solution. So don't look for obstacles, don't look for reasons why you can't meal prep or you can't eat the meals that you have prepped. Just do it. It's like Michael Jordan, just do it, all right? So that's the first one. The second one is don't try to get too fancy right away, okay? Especially if you're a beginner and you're just getting started. You want your food to taste good, you want to eat it, I get that. But if you start throwing a bunch of ingredients in there, it becomes really hard to track. So start basic. Keep it really simple in the beginning, all right? The third rule is, or mindset trick I should say, is just plan ahead. So the thing is, people assume that meal prep is tough or that it's, takes all our time. But the truth is, it's gonna take a lot more time to A, prep each meal individually, or B, go out and get food, which is what most of us end up doing. So in order to stick to your meal plan, you have to meal prep. You're not gonna make progress unless you meal prep. Because the thing is, if you're hungry, if you allow yourself to get to a state of hunger, you're gonna go grab a snack. It's gonna be really easy to eat off plan. But if you have a pre-packaged meal right there waiting for you, you're gonna eat it. It's gonna be super easy, okay? So we make some sacrifices in the beginning, hence meal prep, to make it really easy on ourselves as we go along, hence executing the plan. So let's get started. Let me try that again. So let's get started. There we go. All right, so taking it from the top. 3 things you will absolutely need to have success when you meal prep. 1, a scale or a measuring cup, depending on how you want to weigh out your meat. If you guys don't measure your food, there's no way that you're going to have success. I'm just saying it. Again, it'll get to a point where it's going to be a lot easier, and you might get to the point where you can eyeball it. But if you're just starting meal prep, you've got to measure. So get yourself a little scale. You can get these for like $8, I think, off Amazon. So definitely need a scale, food scale. And then you also need containers, single serving Tupperware containers. There's a couple ways you can do this. First of all, you can go ahead and once you cook all your food, you can measure out your meat per container, measure out your carbs, and go ahead and pre-package them. I would suggest this if you have a really busy schedule at work. If you're not gonna be able to scoop out and measure out your food in the middle of your shift, you've gotta get single serving Tupperwares and then go ahead and pre-package them once you have cooked everything. You might even get one of those fancy book bags with the different compartments where you can stick all your food in there. So make it fun, reward yourself. You're going through all this trouble, so don't worry about splurging on really high quality vegetables and really good meat. Because I promise you guys, if you meal prep, you're gonna save so much money as opposed to eating out. So treat yourself. So you got your Tupperware, you got your scale, and of course the third thing, this is pretty obvious, you need the food, right? So be picky about what you buy. Get lean meats. If you're working with a coach, listen to your coach. Stick to the plan. A really easy meat to cook is tilapia. That's what I prefer. So whatever meat you choose, go ahead and make all your meat for either half a week or a full week, all right? So you're gonna have to do some math. Look at your plan, look at your macros, and go ahead and add up all the protein that you're gonna need for that whole week. If you tend to get a little tired of food, leftovers, I would suggest prepping for half the week. And then you've gotta put it on your schedule to go ahead and prep for the other half of the week. So don't let that go by. Go ahead and on your calendar every week, mark off, time block your prep time. Otherwise, you're not gonna do it. So go ahead and put that in your schedule. You know, I would start with giving yourself 4 hours to meal prep during the week, one day. That sounds like a lot, but I promise you guys, once you start cooking all this stuff and weighing it out, it's gonna take a while in the beginning. But give it a few weeks and you're gonna get it down to like an hour at the most, I swear. So go ahead, pick the meat you want, cook all of it, and depending on what your plan says with your coach. Now for all my clients, all the measurements are cooked. So what you'll have to do is cook a bunch of meat and then measure it out. Make sure you got enough. Do the math ahead of time to go ahead and be able to buy that much meat, okay? And it depends on, okay, I'm getting a little deep here. How much raw meat you need to buy depends on the type of meat. So for instance, for every ounce of cooked chicken, there is a certain ounce of uncooked chicken that equals. But say you're choosing ground beef, 97% lean ground beef, we'll say. That's going to be a different raw measurement to cooked measurement than the chicken was. So you're gonna have to do a little research or ask your coach, that's cool. But do buy as much meat as you need for the full week. Go ahead and cook it. And again, when you're cooking it, don't get too fancy. Just get it done for now. You can use all the dry seasonings you want, just so you know. So, you know, if you one of those and you crave variety, this is your variety. So you got to change your standards a little bit because we're not going out to Outback and getting, you know, cheese fries versus onion rings or bloomin' onion, whatever. This is your variety and your taste buds are going to adjust, I promise. You're going to get to where food that you eat out tastes kind of nasty. It's going to sit gross in your stomach. So use all the dry seasonings you want. And then the other thing that's going to give you a little variety is certain sauces. So if you like sriracha, if you like hotter stuff, there's nothing wrong with this. As long as you're not dousing your food in this, go ahead and spice it up with some of these sauces. What you want to check for is you want to look at the label and just see if calories equal 0, and then look at how much fat, carbs, and sugar. If they all equal 0, you're good to go, or at least less than 1 gram. That's good enough. So we covered the meat. You want to cook all your meat, either measure out the amount of that cooked meat that you need for the day, put it in your Tupperware container. When you get to work or wherever you go during the day, you can either measure it out as you go, scoop it out and measure it, or you can go ahead and pre-package them, which I highly recommend for each meal. So again, that sounds overwhelming, but once you do this a few times, it's not going to be, I promise. So really in the beginning, it might be better to go ahead and designate 2 days to do your meal preps a week. Maybe a Sunday and a Wednesday, just to get you through that other half of the week. And then you have all your meat cooked. So let's talk about carbs. Woo! Hot potato. All right. So depending on what carbs you like, starches specifically, I don't recommend cooking those very far ahead. What I would recommend is if you want to do them in bulk, like say you need 3 cups of rice for the whole day, I would recommend just doing that in the morning. And you're gonna find these little tricks as you go. So you can maybe start boiling some water, go ahead and get the cooking done first thing in the morning so you can go ahead and throw it in with your meals. What I recommend, especially for you ladies, because we don't have to eat quite as much as men, at least most of us, there are tricks you can use. So I use these rices. They are prepackaged. This is equal to 2 cups, I believe. Some of them are a little different. But you stick this in the microwave for 1 minute and that's it. So what I would recommend is go ahead, stick it in the microwave, cook it if you need to, and then portion it into your Tupperwares for the day. So that way, again, when you go to eat it, it's all right there. You're at work, you either stick it in the microwave or you choose a recipe that you can eat without heating it up. All right, and then same with potatoes. Those taste a little bit better cooked ahead of time. They're not gonna dry out quite like rice does, but still you might wanna make those a little more fresh. So I would say the morning of, or maybe the morning between the next 2 days, before the next 2 days. I'll leave it up to you. But this goes back to mindset, you guys, too. Don't throw in the towel because it's tough the first 2 or 3 times. It gets easier and easier, so stick with it. Because as soon as you give up, you're screwing yourself up, you're making it harder on yourself. And then fast forward, you fall off your diet, you don't look how you want, and you're pissed. That's the truth. So that is my spiel on carbs. I'll give you my secret for vegetables. There has been research done, and unless you are going to a super organic, like a market to get your vegetables, where farmers are handing you the vegetables that they grew in their backyard, there could be preservatives on it. There could be all kinds of stuff sprayed on them, which takes a lot of the nutrients out of them. There's a lot of research that's come out on that recently. So don't hate on the frozen stuff, okay? This takes, what is it, 2 minutes? Yeah, 2 minutes. I throw it in the microwave just like it is. It takes 2 minutes. So again, a couple options here. You can go ahead and prep your vegetables for the whole week if you want. Some people don't mind doing that. And again, you can put the seasoning salt or whatever you want to season them with. Go ahead and put those in your containers. Or you can prep them each day, which is what I choose to do, which is why I go with these. Because it's super easy, stick them in there, you're good to go. So these are like my two go-tos as far as vegetables and carbs. And then we'll briefly talk about fats. So it all depends on what you can manage. If you get avocado, which is such an amazing fat, it's so healthy, but they tend to, brown pretty quickly, and it tends to take them a while to get ripe. I don't know if you've ever tried to buy avocados, but it can be tricky unless you just have a knack for it, which some people do. So of course you can sit there and cut up, slice a half an avocado, put it in there with your meal, or you can choose an easier option like almonds. Just make sure you're measuring, especially when it comes to fats, you guys, because fats are so dense. You don't want to measure too many fats. You don't want to consume too much fat because it's so dense, and a little bit goes a long way. So if you're putting all this effort into meal prepping, you better be putting the effort into measuring as well, or you're just negating your gains. All right, so be really picky with it in the beginning. And again, it's going to get easier. It's going to feel like second nature. The last trick I'm going to leave you with is this. Boom, bet you didn't think I was going to get that close, but I did. All right, so this isn't my favorite brand, so I'm going to cover it, but you want to get, I can't believe it's not butter, spray. Get the spray. All right, you can spray this on whatever you want. This has 0 calories, 0 fat, 0 carbs, 0 sugars. You're good to go. So as long as you're not opening this and dousing it on your meals, use this. Use this with your dry seasoning, and it's not going to add any fat, any carbs to your meals. It's beautiful. It's awesome. So if you got value from this, go ahead, subscribe to my YouTube channel, because I put a lot of recipes on there, and I put a lot of other cool tricks on there. So if you want to dive into some recipes, some more details on some other bodybuilding hacks and tricks, go ahead and subscribe, and I'll see you guys soon.